The Gutfeld studio was a hotbed of irrelevant energy, its sleek set pulsing with neon lights and the audience's raucous cheers as the satirical theme music faded, signaling the start of a blockbuster segment. Prince Harry, the Duke of Sussex, strode onto the stage with a guarded smile, his tailored blazer and earnest demeanor drawing a mix of applause and curious murmurs from the Fox News crowd. He was there to promote the paperback release of his memoir Spare and his Invictus Games, but the real buzz was his bold appearance on Greg Gutfeld's turf, a show known for its biting humor and no-holds-barred jabs. Greg, perched behind his desk with a devilish grin, kicked things off. "Harry, welcome to the Lion's Den. You're out here writing tell-alls and saving veterans, so how do you juggle all that with the royal baggage?" The crowd laughed, but Harry's smile flickered, sensing a barb. "Greg, I focus on what matters, but I'm betting you're about to sling some mud," he said, his British accent laced with wary humor. The audience chuckled, and Greg leaned forward, his eyes glinting. "Mud? Nah, Harry, I'm just curious. Your book's got more royal dirt than a Buckingham Palace garden. Don't you ever worry you're oversharing?" The question echoed Gutfeld's 2022 mockery of Harry's UN speech, and Harry's eyebrows shot up. "Oversharing, Greg? I'm telling my truth to set the record straight and not to feed your comedy routine," he replied, his tone sharp but composed. The crowd gasped, and Greg's grin widened, his voice dripping with sarcasm. "Comedy routine, mate? You're the one starring in a global soap opera. Don't act shocked when we tune in." The studio crackled with tension, and panelist Kat Timph tried to lighten the mood. "Harry, Invictus is amazing. Let's talk about that." But Harry wasn't biting. "No, Kat, let's talk about why Greg's painting me as a drama queen for telling my story." The audience roared, split between those who admired Harry's candor and those who lived for Greg's shade. Greg, unfazed, sipped his coffee. "Drama queen? You wrote a 400-page royal roast, Harry. Don't cry foul when I serve it back." Harry's jaw clenched, his voice rising. "Serve it back? You're twisting my life into a punchline, Greg, and it's not funny." The crowd cheered, some clapping for Harry's fire, others murmuring at Greg's boldness. The producers, watching from the control room, exchanged nervous glances. This was veering off the usual satirical banter. Greg tried to pivot. "All right, let's talk Invictus. It's a knockout." But Harry cut him off. "No, Greg, let's talk about why you're mocking my family like it's your job." The audience gasped, and Greg's face flushed, his voice sharp. "Mocking? Harry, this is Gutfeld. I roast everybody. Don't get all princely on me." Harry's eyes narrowed. "Princely? You're slamming me as some spoiled royal. Greg, I'm real, and I'm not here for your cheap shots." The stage was a powder keg, the crowd fueling the fire, as the cameras zoomed in on Harry's steely gaze and Greg's smirking defiance, setting the scene for a clash that would ignite headlines. As Gutfeld returned from a commercial break, the studio was a pressure cooker, the audience buzzing with anticipation. After the fiery opening exchange between Prince Harry and Greg Gutfeld, the neon-lit set felt almost ironic against the simmering tension, as Greg tried to reset the mood with his trademark snark. "Welcome back, folks. Prince Harry's in the house, and we're getting royal with it." But Harry, seated with his arms crossed, wasn't in the mood for pleasantries. His eyes locked on Greg. "Royal with it, Greg? You've got a lot to say about my life." "Let's hear it," he said, his voice dripping with challenge. The crowd gasped, and Greg leaned forward, his smile strained but playful. "Harry, I'm just curious. Your book Spare spills all this royalty, from family fights to palace secrets. Don't you worry you're burning bridges for a paycheck?" The question was sharp, echoing Gutfeld's 2022 jabs at Harry's woke dramatics, and Harry's jaw tightened. "Burning bridges? Greg, I wrote my truth to heal, not to cash in, and unlike your show, which banks on tearing people down," he fired back, his British accent cutting through the applause. The audience erupted, some cheering Harry's defiance, others murmuring at his jab. Greg, unfazed, raised an eyebrow. "Tearing down? Harry, you handed us the script with Spare. Don't be surprised when we read it." The jab was pointed, and Harry's voice rose. "Read it? You're twisting my story into a cartoon, Greg, like I'm some reality TV villain." The crowd roared, and panelist Tyrus tried to pivot. "Harry, Invictus is doing real good, let's focus there." But Harry waved him off. "No, Tyrus, I'm tired of Greg painting me as a whining royal for laughs." The accusation landed like a punch, and Greg's grin faltered, his tone sharpening. "Whining, Harry? I'm just doing my job. You wrote the tell-all." Now on the fallout, the studio was chaos, the audience on its feet, as Kat and Tyrus exchanged nervous glances. Harry, his fists clenched, fired back. "Own it, I'm owning my truth, Greg, but you're spinning it into a royal circus for ratings." Greg leaned forward, his voice icy. "Circus? You brought the clowns. Harry, don't cry when I call the show." The crowd gasped, and Harry stood, his voice booming. "Cry? You're not asking questions. Greg, you're mocking my life, and I won't sit here for it." The insult was a direct hit, and Greg's eyes narrowed, his voice cutting. "Mocking? This is Gutfeld. Harry, everybody gets roasted. Don't act too royal for it." The audience was in a frenzy, some chanting Harry, while others clapped for Greg's audacity. Harry's chest heaved, his voice trembling with fury. "Royal? I'm a man telling my story, Greg, and you're reducing it to a punchline." The producers, now frantic, signaled for the band to play, but the music couldn't drown out the chaos. Greg, unfazed, leaned back. "Punchline, you gave us the material. Harry, if you can't handle the heat, maybe the clubhouse ain't for you." Harry's eyes blazed, his voice a shout. "Heat? You're disrespecting my truth, Greg, and I trusted you to be fair." The nod to their lack of prior rapport was a gut punch, and the crowd roared, sensing the climax. Kat jumped in. "Okay, let's talk Invictus, it's inspiring." But Harry took a step toward the edge of the set, his voice a low growl. "No, Kat, I'm done with Greg's games. You want a circus? Run it without me." The audience held its breath, as Greg fired back. "Run? This is my show, Harry, if you can't take a joke, there's the door." The challenge was a spark in a powder keg, and the cameras stayed locked on Harry, capturing every moment of the escalating showdown. The Gutfeld studio was a tinderbox, the air crackling with the heat of the escalating clash between Prince Harry and Greg Gutfeld, two figures locked in a verbal duel that had the audience on the edge of their seats. Harry, now standing, loomed over the set, his blazer catching the neon lights as he pointed at Greg. "You think you are clever, Greg, turning my life into your late-night circus. But I'm not your punching bag." The crowd roared, split between those who admired Harry's defiance and those who lived for Greg's biting humor. Greg, standing to match him, his voice sharp. "Punching bag? Harry, you wrote a book trashing your family. Don't act shocked when I ask about it." The jab was brutal, echoing Gutfeld's 2022 Mutant Offspring quip, and Harry's voice boomed. "Ask? You're accusing me of betraying my family, Greg, when I'm just trying to protect mine." The audience gasped, and the band's keyboardist tried to play a light riff, but the noise was drowned out by the crowd's cheers. Greg, his eyes glinting, fired back. "Protect? You're airing royal laundry for the world, Harry. That's not protection, that's a spectacle." The crowd gasped, and Harry's face reddened, his voice trembling with fury. "Spectacle? I wrote Spare to tell my truth, not to feed your snark, Greg." The insult was a direct hit, and Greg's smile vanished, his tone icy. "Snark? You chose the spotlight, Harry. Don't blame me for shining it back." The studio was chaos, the audience on its feet, as Kat and Tyrus tried to regain control. Harry, his fists clenched, snapped, "Shine it back? You're twisting my life into a caricature, Greg, and I'm sick of it." The crowd roared, some chanting Harry, while others shouted Greg. As the tension skyrocketed, Greg, his hands on his hips, shot back. "Caricature? You gave us the cartoon, Harry. Don't get mad when I draw it." Harry's voice rose to a shout. "Draw it? You're attacking my integrity, Greg, like I'm some royal clown for your show." The audience gasped, and Greg's eyes narrowed, his voice booming. "Clown? I'm holding you accountable, Harry, something your palace never did." The jab referenced his royal exit, and Harry took a step closer, his voice a low growl. "Accountable? You're just chasing laughs, Greg, and I'm not your jester." The crowd was in a frenzy, sensing the climax, as Greg fired back, "Jester, this is Gutfeld. Harry, if you can't handle a roast, there's the exit." Harry's eyes flashed with fury, his voice a shout. "Handle it? You're disrespecting my truth, Greg, and I won't stand for it." The audience held its breath, as Harry took another step toward the wings, his voice a dangerous whisper. "I came here to talk, not to be your punching bag." Greg, unfazed, leaned forward, "Punching bag? You brought the drama, Harry. Don't run now." The challenge was a spark in a powder keg, and Harry's chest heaved, his voice a growl. "Run? You went too far, Greg." He slammed his hand on the desk, the sound echoing through the studio, and turned toward the wings, his footsteps heavy. The audience roared, some cheering his exit, others booing Greg's audacity, as security moved in, unsure whether to follow. The cameras stayed locked on Harry, capturing the moment that would dominate headlines. The producers, in full panic mode, signaled for the band to play, but the music couldn't drown out the chaos of the showdown. As Prince Harry's silhouette vanished into the wings of the Gutfeld studio, the set was a maelstrom of chaos, the audience's cheers and boos blending into a deafening roar that echoed through the neon-lit space. Greg Gutfeld stood behind his desk, his face a mix of shock and defiance, as the band played a frantic riff to cover the awkward silence. "Well, folks, that's what happens when you bring a prince to a roast," he quipped, trying to regain control, but his voice betrayed a hint of unease. The crowd laughed, but the tension lingered, some chanting Harry in solidarity, others applauding Greg's boldness. Backstage, the producers were in a frenzy, their headsets crackling with urgent orders as they debated whether to cut to a pre-taped segment or let Greg ride out the storm. The cameras, still rolling, caught Greg adjusting his tie, his smirk returning as he addressed the audience. "All right, y'all, Harry's got passion, and we love that. Let's give him a hand." The crowd complied, but it was half-hearted, the room still reeling from the drama. Social media was already ablaze, with clips of the confrontation going viral, fans and critics dissecting every word, every gesture. Some praised Harry for standing up to Greg's biting humor, calling his walk-off a bold stand against media mockery, while others accused him of overreacting, unable to handle the heat of Gutfeld's roast, as seen in posts criticizing his sensitivity. The narrative was spiraling, just as Harry had warned, his words about being twisted into a caricature proving prophetic. Greg, sensing the moment slipping, tried to pivot. "Let's talk about Harry's Invictus game as if they're doing real good." But the audience wasn't ready to move on, their energy still tied to the clash. Backstage, Harry was whisked away by his team, the paparazzi already swarming the studio exits, hungry for a soundbite. The producers, now in damage control mode, cued a pre-taped segment, but the crowd wasn't buying it. They wanted more of the raw, unfiltered chaos they'd just witnessed. Greg, ever the showman, powered through, cracking jokes about his panel and teasing the next guest, but his usual bravado felt strained. The internet was merciless, with hashtags like #Harry vs Gutfeld and #Gutfeld Showdown trending within minutes, alongside memes of Harry's desk slam and Greg's stunned expression. The confrontation had tapped into a larger cultural nerve via royal versus satirist, truth versus comedy, sincerity versus spectacle. For Harry, it was a stand against being reduced to a punchline, a moment of defiance that would fuel his narrative of resilience. For Greg, it was another night in the satirical trenches, where his provocative humor sometimes pushed guests to the edge, as seen in his past jabs at Harry. As the show wrapped, Greg signed off with a wry smile. "Thanks for watching, folks. Come back tomorrow or maybe we'll keep the royals on set." The crowd laughed, but the moment belonged to Harry's walk-off, a shocking exit that would dominate headlines for weeks. The studio lights dimmed, and the audience filed out, still buzzing about the day Prince Harry exploded on Gutfeld, only to be kicked off in a blaze of regal fury.